What if I told you that every single substance has its own unique signature, a kind of molecular fingerprint that lets us identify it instantly? Well, today we're going to become molecular detectives because we're diving into the powerful technique that makes it all possible. So let me set a scene for you. Imagine you're in a lab and someone hands you a vial with a totally unknown clear liquid. How do you figure out what it is? You can't just guess, right? You need a rock-solid method, a way to basically ask the molecules themselves, hey, what are you? And the answer, it lies in this incredible tool called FTIR spectroscopy. Now, yeah, the name sounds a little intimidating, but the idea behind it is actually beautiful and simple. We shine a special kind of light, infrared light, on a sample, and then we watch to see which parts of that light get absorbed. The pattern that comes back is totally unique to that molecule. It's the molecular fingerprint we've been talking about, and it's our key to unlocking its identity. Okay, so let's get into the how. How does a molecule even create a fingerprint in the first place? Well, it all comes down to a hidden, super energetic dance that happens anytime light and matter meet. We're about to pull back the curtain and take a look at this secret molecular dance. You have to imagine that the bonds holding atoms together aren't like rigid little sticks. Instead, think of them as tiny, flexible springs. Now, the infrared light we're using is just pure energy. And when that energy hits those springy bonds, they soak it up and start to vibrate. They stretch, they bend, they wiggle around. And here's the crucial part. Every single type of bond, like a carbon to oxygen bond versus a hydrogen to oxygen bond, vibrates at its own unique frequency. It has its own special rhythm. So we can pretty much group all this wiggling and jiggling into two main dance moves. On the one hand, you have stretching. This is where the atoms move back and forth right along the bond, kind of like you're pulling and releasing a spring. This one's a pretty high energy move. On the other hand, you've got bending. This is where the angle between the bonds changes. It's a much lower energy move, more like a subtle sway or a shimmy. And the bending dance gets even more specific, which is pretty cool. Scientists have given these moves some really great descriptive names. You've got scissoring, where atoms move toward each other. You've got rocking, wagging, yep, just like a dog's tail, and even twisting. Each one of these little dances absorbs a very specific frequency of infrared light, and that is exactly what our machine is designed to measure. So we understand the dance, right? The molecules are doing their thing. But how do we actually watch it and record it? For that, we need a very special piece of equipment, the instrument that can read these vibrations, the FTIR spectrometer. This machine is the heart of the whole operation. Its real genius comes down to two key parts. First, something called an interferometer, which does this clever trick with the infrared light. And second, a bit of math magic called a Fourier transform, which decodes everything at the end. Putting these two together lets the machine measure all the vibrations at the exact same time, which makes it incredibly fast and incredibly precise. So here's a quick tour of what happens inside. First, a light source shoots out an infrared beam. That beam then goes into the interferometer, which gets it ready. Then it passes right through our sample, and this is where the molecules absorb the energy for their specific dance moves. A detector on the other side measures all the light that didn't get absorbed. And finally, the computer uses that Fourier transform to turn all that raw data into the final spectrum, the fingerprint. And this, right here, is where the FTIR in FTIR really earns its keep. Because the machine measures every single frequency all at once, it can capture a perfect, high-quality fingerprint in a single scan. We're talking less than a second. That kind of speed makes it a ridiculously efficient tool for scientists. All right, the machine has done its magic. We have our molecular fingerprint right there on the screen. But what are we even looking at? Right now, it just looks like a bunch of peaks and valleys on a graph. So how do we actually read it? The key is knowing that the spectrum is split into two really important zones. Over on the left, we have what's called the functional group region. This area gives you the big, obvious clues. It's kind of like noticing a suspect has a prominent tattoo or bright red hair. But then on the right, you have the fingerprint region. This part is complex, it's a bit messy, and it's absolutely unique to that one specific molecule. This is where you make the positive, one-of-a-kind ID. Let's look at some real-world examples from that functional group region. See that OH stretch you'd find in an alcohol? Notice how it says the peak is strong and broad. That big, wide shape is a classic sign of something called hydrogen bonding, which messes with the vibration a bit.
Compare that to a C double bond O group, which gives the really strong but sharp peak. Chemists get so good at this, they can recognize these shapes and positions in a heartbeat. So it's not just about where the peak is on the graph. As this quote nails, every single detail matters. The shape of the peak. Is it sharp or is it broad? Its intensity. Is it strong or is it weak? All of these things are vital clues that help scientists piece together the puzzle of a molecule's true identity.
Look, this is all fascinating science, for sure. But let's zoom out a bit and talk about why this actually matters to you and me. Where is this powerful technique being used every single day, often in ways that directly impact our lives? Well, FTI is a real super tool for a few key reasons. It's incredibly sensitive, it's lightning fast, and it's super accurate. Plus, and this is a big one, it's non-destructive. That means you can analyze a really precious sample without ruining it. And to top it all off, it's a true all-rounder. It can analyze solids, liquids, and gases with no problem.
And because it's so versatile, you find it working behind the scenes everywhere. It's making sure your medicine is pure, it's detecting tiny pollutants in our air and water, it's analyzing fibers at a crime scene, and it's spotting contaminants in our food. In so many industries, FTIR is like a silent guardian, protecting our quality and our safety.
So we've seen how FTIR lets us read the unique story that's told by every single molecule out there. It makes the invisible world of molecular structures completely visible, which really just leaves us with one final thought. If every molecule truly has its own fingerprint, what other secrets about our world, our bodies, and even the universe are just sitting there, waiting for us to scan and uncover them?